Alrighty then, successful indie author, 5-minute focus, episode 304, responding to crisis. Not even trying the video today because of, bad internet. So there we are. Responding to crisis. Crisis is a window into a person's soul. How much do they plan ahead of time? You look at the military. Military does a lot of war games, right? War games are about learning how to respond to a crisis, learning how to deal with people dropping out of your platoon or your squad because they were injured or killed, and how do you carry on? Because the mission, you've got to get the mission done. And in life, you've got to move on. You've got stuff to do. You've got people counting on you, and you have to make it work. So, did you do everything you could ahead of time to mitigate the issue? And if you didn't, and most people don't, because then otherwise it's not as big of a crisis as it might be otherwise, do better next time. The thing about crises is you need to learn. You learn from them. So little crises like your parents, you see your grandparents pass away and the trials and tribulations that your parents go through. Are you paying attention? Are you going to do that? Are you going to do better for when your parents move on? Because here's a secret: everyone dies, and it's just a part of life. Now we can try to avoid it and hold it off for as long as possible. That is our lease on life, is to hold it off. But it's going to happen. And then how do you respond to it? Is it going to be a crisis, or is it going to be an event where you can be emotionally distraught, but still know that everything's taken care of because you have mitigated the crisis part of that passing? So you have a crisis. Something happens. You weren't prepared for it. What needs to be done? Look at the priorities. Look at the absolute necessity of priorities. What has to be done? Everything else becomes secondary, and that includes going to work if it's secondary to what you get out there, because you have to make life or death decisions. They can't do anything without you there. Everything gets dropped. You know what you need to do. Prioritize. Go do it, and then move on. If you're talking publishing, there's very few crises in the self-publishing world that requires you to throw everything to the side and focus on one thing. Very, very few. Managing a business, a small business, it's about focusing on what you really need to make it work. Usually that goes to cash flow. You have to have product. You have to push the product. You have to get the product out the door. You have to take the cash. You have to reinvest. You can't skip taxes and things like that. That gets really expensive really fast, and it actually puts you out of business if you do it too many times. So priorities: what's number one, what's number two, what's number three. We can usually only handle about 3 priorities, and you'll tell yourself, I have 10 different priorities. You can only have one number one. You can only work on one thing at one time. Yes, we switch back and forth between the things we're working on, but are you really managing the number one priority in a way that you've got to get there first? It helps if you can step back for just a moment and look at, what does a good resolution to the crisis look like? If a person passes away, they're not coming back. So what does a good resolution look like, where they're appropriately honored, they're taken care of, and the rest of the family, the rest of the people can move forward? So find out what that is, see it in your mind, and take steps to get there. And that will help a level of emotional distress you're experiencing. That'll help tamper that a little bit, tamp it down, tamp it down. It's never as completely as bad as you think it could be. It can, only thing you do is going to help. So as morbid as that sounds, it's a mental game that you're going to play with yourself in order to Move forward because you have to move forward. Time moves that way. The clock ticks and seconds count down, and you keep moving forward. And things have to get done. Prioritize 1, 2, 3, get them done, and then move to the next ones. What was 4, 5, and 6? They're now 1, 2, and 3. Keep moving forward, and it helps if you look for other people to necessarily to help, but people for you to help. That will take your mind off the main focus of what this crisis or what this tragedy is. If it's your publishing business, once again, it's not going to be as great a crisis as you may think. Your book tanks, you get some bad reviews. So what, readers? It's all okay. It's not the end of days. If you lose a lot of money, hey, so be it. I paid an editor who bailed on me after one page. Because I pay in advance. Thank you very little. It's okay. Moving forward, still got to get the book edited. Still move forward. Still got to get it out there. Product, because it makes it possible to pay for these things. So, if you lose your Amazon account, and many people have, it's rare, but those people who lose it, they scream to high heaven, and you hear all of it. You see all of it, and so you think it happens a lot more often than it does. It does not. It's rare, but if it does happen, what do you do? And this is where, did you do everything ahead of time to mitigate? Not, hey, bail on Amazon. Amazon might be 80% of your revenue or more. So just bail on them. What's a decent business plan? Instantly go wide, go through BookFunnel, do direct sales, make sure you manage your own list. There's all kinds of things you can do to mitigate and keep moving forward with your author publishing business. Keep writing. And 7 minutes. Holy cow. Meandered too long. Crisis. War game. So play in your mind, what's the worst thing that could happen? And then take steps to mitigate that. Oh, I lose my Amazon account. If you're a publisher, that's a pretty big deal. 80, 90% of your revenue back. Unless you did something untoward, and then no, you shouldn't get it back. But if you didn't, and you do get it back, and it takes a week, 2 weeks, then what did you do during that 1 to 2 weeks to offset that? Have you put money aside to pay your bills, or are you counting on that next paycheck? And now it gets touchy. This is a crisis. What can you do to mitigate now to make sure you take care of number one and the family during this challenge? How we respond to challenges is a window to your soul. So keep that in mind as you're trying not to self-destruct during whatever crisis might happen. And some people, crises follow them like there's nobody's business, because they'll attract it and seem to create more crises than they resolve. And those people who seem to have a good head on their shoulders, it doesn't seem like they ever have a crisis because they're ready for whatever might come up. All right, everybody. Peace, fellow humans.